brothers and sisters. I happen to be Inder Dan Ratnu, that's my name. And I am an author on Winston Churchill and American politics. The current American politics, which is today. That has been my subject. And look, I wish to introduce to you about my literary work and the letters of appreciation that I have got from American presidents. So gentlemen, let me show you each and every work that I have done. Look, this was my first book on Winston Churchill that I sent to 5 American presidents and 5 British prime ministers, who so kindly responded by complimentary letters to me, which are over here. Me, you can see it, as a young man, when I used to be secretary to a minister, to Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, the late prime minister. In this book, which in fact is a novel of alternative events without the rise of Winston Churchill during the Second World War, in which I imagine an attack upon the spot of World Trade Center and its destruction by, since this was a book about Winston Churchill and the story was about the Second World War, so I had to put in that context. On the page 101, I imagined the destruction of World Trade Center. This, in fact, was an event which I had imagined for the future. I was certain that this was a spot which would be hit by the enemies of the United States in the future, then future. And to my own utter surprise, on September the 11th, 2001, it came true. This is another book about Churchill. I have tried to explain in 100 questions all about Winston Churchill. This is a book which I wrote before actual impeachment proceedings against President Clinton. If anyone goes through this book, he would realize that I have written this book after the events actually took place. But in fact, I wrote it before that I can present the evidence to anybody. I've got the letters that I sent to my, the letter through which I sent this very book to 7 American senators and congressmen who were taking part in the proceedings or proceedings against President Clinton, and also to the Chief Justice of the United States, then presiding over the proceedings. This book was later published in the United States by a man. His name is Michael Burchett. He is from South Carolina, and he in fact edited my book and very kindly published it in the United States of America. So this was this book. So in other words, I had foreseen all those events of the impeachment, including President Clinton's offering apology well in advance of its actual happening. Then I had thought that in the future, since freedom was taking leaps forward in the form of internet and the cyber age that mankind have entered into, so I thought that there were 2 broader groups of American people which had not risen to the highest level. They would soon rise, I thought. The women and African American people. And I imagined the rise, I visualized the rise of women and African Americans to 2 top slots of American politics, presidency and vice presidency, in this book, First Lady President. This was again published by Michael Burchett, the first edition, back in 2003. I later in 2005, or at the beginning of 2006, I revised the book and I published another edition, now this time by iUniverse in the United States, the First Lady President, in which I visualized lady being elected as the president and African American man as vice president of the United States of America. If you happen to go through it, you will realize that as I have put on a special website of this book, firstladypresident.net, that about 27, 28 events I imagined in this book have actually come true, including the rise of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Let me bring a very interesting thing to your notice, which happened back in 2000, when George W. Bush, then governor of Texas, was fighting the presidential election. I had written an advice to the American people. I had written 2 articles, one each for both of these candidates, one for Al Gore and another for George W. Bush. And I asked my American editor, Michael Burchett, to put it on the internet so that the American people could view it, and if they thought fit, they could take some action accordingly. So my article about George W. Bush was this one. I have taken this copy from the internet. Now it has been removed from there, but it is there. And it begins with an Indian's advice to the American electorate. It begins with the wordings, "I wish to caution Americans, make no mistake, in the event of the election of George W. Bush to the presidency of the United States, there is certainly going to be another round of Gulf War." Then again, further I write, "And in the event of a second round, the elimination of Iraqi dictator from the Arab scene is also certain." Then further I write, "I sincerely believe that even if," उसका ऐसे किया ना, ठीक है? I read it out for you, the highlighted portion. "I sincerely believe that even if Saddam, in view of the potential danger to his existence, restrained himself and offered the younger Bush no provocation, George W. in turn is likely to maneuver Saddam into making one, thus clearing the road for a second round of armed conflict." And then I say, "Provided he wins the presidency." That means, and I put it in capitals, signifying that I had a serious doubt that he would win the election. And then at the end I say, in other words, George W. Bush as president means Gulf War II. Americans, please be prepared for that, make no mistake. It is not a casual prediction, it is a certainty which I can read by the bold writing of the wall.